Hi, it's Vickie Hacking. I'm coming to you again with another fun way to present Jafra color at your parties or at your personals using the top of your hand. So one of the things I like to do, again, I use royal jelly as my base. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little royal jelly on the top of my hand, and then I'm going to blend it in, okay, like this. Then I'm going to take the darkest shade of Jafra foundation, whatever color you want, use the darkest shade, and then just put a touch of it on the top of your hand. So you've got a little bit of foundation, just a drop here. And then what you do is you take and you blend it into your hand and you show them how dark it is. You say, now, I wouldn't wear that color of foundation on my, because I'm lighter than that. So use the darkest shade. Now, if you're really dark complected, then why don't you use the lightest shade of foundation, which might be the porcelain. So whichever shade you want to use, the darkest or the lightest, you apply a little bit here to the top of your hand, and you can see that that color really isn't your color, and that's what you tell them. This really wouldn't be the color I would use, but watch what happens. And then you start blending it. Again, you're going to practice this at home. And you start blending that foundation into the top of your hand. And you will be amazed at how it just disappears because it picks up the natural color of your skin. Jafra foundation doesn't leave a ring or a line here because it blends in to the natural pigmentation and the natural color of your skin. The hand is a great way to demonstrate how Jafra color works and how foundations are blend and pick up the natural tones of your skin because they blend in so beautifully. Use your hand, show them, use the darkest shade, put a couple of drops on your hand, start to blend it, and you'll see that it's way too dark. And then, as you're talking to them, you talk about how well Jafra foundation blends into the skin, how that it won't leave a line, it doesn't leave a heavy look, it doesn't look like you have makeup on because it picks up your natural skin tones. And they will be amazed how you've used the top of your hand to show them the quality of the Jafra foundations. I love this demo. I've used it for years, and it really does impress people. And by the way, you can also use the top of your hand for how to apply pencils. Remember, we just did that little video on that, and you can see that on eyeshadows. Now I'm going to show you something else. One of the other things I like to do with using the top of my hand, we've already talked about how important the Jafra powder is. And so here's another demonstration that you can use using the Jafra powder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little sponge applicator. I'm going to put it into the foundation. I mean the powder, the translucent powder. Again, you can use pressed powder, you can use the 2-in-1 foundation, which I call a powder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the top of my hand again, okay, and I'm going to put a little powder on there because we're all going to be powdering before we apply Jafra color. Now take, it can be a brush like this, or you can use a blush brush. But what I'm using the wine right now. Okay, now this, use the darkest shade in your palette. But what I do is I take this color, and the first thing I do is I apply it to part of my hand that doesn't have any powder on it. Okay, so I'm going to put a little dot like that. And usually it just grabs and I can show them, oh wow, that's too dark. That might probably make you look like a clown if you were putting it on. So the first thing I want to do is dip it into the brightest or darkest shade of blush. And then I'm just going to put it on and you're going to see that it grabs. But then the magic of this is to go back in to this dark blush, or the dark terracotta would be a good color to use, or any of the really darker shades of blush. Then I'm going to take this and I'm going to now dip it into my translucent powder. So my brush has got the blush on it, the dark shade, and then it goes into the powder. So now I have blush, then I have powder, and then I show them on the top of my hand how beautiful this blush goes in. It just goes in so soft. And you can see the side where it grabs, because I had the darker side right there. And then over here, you can see how beautiful the blush blended into the skin. Now, it's really effective if you use our little eyeshadow applicator. You can buy these under tools, under your Jafra order form. So now I'm going to take the neutral ground, because remember, this is what we used on the eyelashes. But you know how dark that is. So I'm going to take and apply this, again, to the top of my hand. Okay, where there's no powder, and I'm just going to show them how it grabs. So again, I'm taking it and it's way too dark. You wouldn't want to use that on your eyes because it'd make you, again, look like you had too much eyeshadow on. So now I'm going to go back into that same dark brown. I'm going to go into it like this. Okay. Then I'm going to go into my handy, wonderful translucent blush. And I'm going to put the blush on top, the powder right on top of it. So now I have a coat of the darker eyeshadow color. It doesn't matter if you want to use greens or whatever you want to use, make sure it's just dark. And so now you've taken and put in powder on top of it, and then I actually use my hand to show them how beautiful that blends in with the powder. So really what you're doing is you're using your color and then you're using the powder on top, and it makes it matted so that when it goes onto the skin, it goes on very, very delicately, and you would want to put it on your eyeshadow. So use this like a palette. You know how an artist is painting his paintings? Well, he just doesn't take and put that bright blue or that bright green on. He will take and put it in a neutral tone of oil paint or paint, and then after it's blended, then he will put it on his canvas. And that's what you're doing. You're using the powder to soften, to control, and to actually make it blendable so that it doesn't stand out. It is blended. So I love this little presentation. It just works so well. So now we've taught you how to show them how Jafra color, how beautiful it blends in by using the top of the hand. Then I've shown you on previous videos how powder works and how that it absolutely makes everything stay on better. But now powder also takes an eyeshadow or a bright blush or anything like that, and it mutes it, it softens it, it makes it so that if you use the color first with your eyeshadow applicator brush, and you go into the powder first, and then you go into the translucent powder next, so it's a second coating, and then you apply it, you will love the results. You will love the way it blends. Same thing with the blush. You use this and you put it into the powder, and the first thing you want to do is take your blush, okay, with your powder brush, go across it, then put it into the powder, then it's matted, it's muted, so it isn't going to grab the skin, and then you just lightly apply it, and you're going to find that you love the results because everything goes on softer, everything is blended, and everything is more pleasant to the way you look for the day. And guess what? Everything will last longer too. So this is Vickie Hacking, and I'm wishing you a happy holiday season. This is just another makeup tip that works for me. I hope it can work for you too.